House of Representatives kicks against new cybersecurity levy. Reps summon National Security Advisor over escape of Binance executive. And lawmakers urge IGP to step up surveillance and intelligence gathering to mitigate insecurity in the country. Hello and welcome to You and Your Reps. I am Victor Azu. Thank you for joining us. The House of Representatives has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend the proposed introduction of cybersecurity levy on electronic transactions. Adopting a motion by Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda, the House notes that the proposed 0.5% levy on electronic transactions is open to multiple interpretations as an additional tax burden on citizens.
The public outcry against the central bank's proposed 0.5% levy on electronic transactions gains traction among lawmakers. Citing ambiguity in the CBN circular announcing the levy, Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda described the policy as ill-timed.
Unless immediate pragmatic steps are taken to halt the proposed action of the CBN, the Cyber Crimes Act shall be implemented in error at a time when Nigerians are experiencing the aftermath of multiple removal of subsidies.
This motion is referred to the Committee on Banking Regulation and Banking Institution and ancillary institutions for further legislative action.
The House also drew the attention of the federal government to possible breach of industrial harmony in tertiary institutions if withheld salaries and allowances of ASU and NASU staff are not paid.
I urge the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to use his good office and direct the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget Office of the Federation, Accountant General of the Federation, and such MDS to ensure full implementation and prompt payment of all monies due to the unions.
The plight of Nigerians in accessing consular services led the House to call for a comprehensive probe of the activities of foreign missions.
The country has properties and assets across the world, many underutilized and several others abandoned, which if properly audited will enhance efficiency of our foreign services.
To boost the national power grid, the Green Chamber sought activation of the Bahrain power plant in Bayelsa State.
To urge the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is the chairman of the board of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, to summon emergency meeting of the board for urgent resuscitation of the Bahrain power plant in order to increase national grid.
A minute silence.
Lawmakers observed a minute's silence for 46 citizens brutally murdered by bandits in Isa Sabon Birni Federal Constituency in Sokoto State.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has expressed displeasure over the security breach that led to escape of Nadeem Anjarwalla, one of the detained executives of cryptocurrency company Binance, from custody in Abuja. The House has therefore summoned the National Security Advisor to explain the circumstances surrounding his escape from custody, one which lawmakers describe as scandalous.
The escape from custody of Nadeem Anjarwalla, one of the two Binance executives being detained for alleged complicity of the company in money laundering and terrorism financing, is not going down well with lawmakers. They believe that the ability of Kenya's police to rearrest Nadeem with plans to extradite him to face charges in Nigeria cast aspersions on national security.
Further worried that the escape of the Binance executive from the office of the National Security Advisor using a small good passport is, to say the least, most disappointing, embarrassing, and disturbing as it portrays the porosity of the security architecture of the country to the world.
This motion is referred to the Committees on Financial Crimes, National Security and Intelligence, Interior, and Police.
Lawmakers also expressed worry over periodic attacks on schools in the country and the effect on school enrollment. The House therefore mandated its relevant security committees to interface with all security chiefs with a view to identify how best to secure schools and proffer lasting solutions to various security challenges in the country.
The fear of attacks has stopped many children from ever attending school again. Mr. Speaker, mandate schools to engage the services of private security outfits to complement the efforts of the security agencies in securing the schools.
The Chief of Defense Staff established a functional operational military base in Omala local government area of Kogi State for rapid response to the incessant herdsmen attack in the local government area.
Meanwhile, an ad hoc committee was constituted to investigate the death of a 4-year-old boy, Miguel Ovoke, a pupil of Brick Hall School, Abuja.
The young innocent child was reported dead under suspicious circumstances, which the school was unable to explain up to date. Worried that the parents of this deceased boy suspect a cover-up.
Lawmakers urged the Federal Ministry of Education to expedite the disbursement of stipends owed students studying overseas under the federal government's bilateral educational agreement scholarship.
Such neglect may cause our vulnerable students to stray into unwanted vices.
31 bills passed first reading at plenary, including the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board Act Amendment Bill 2024.
And the House of Representatives has called for more proactive steps from the security agencies towards addressing cases of banditry and kidnappings in parts of the country. Now, lawmakers urge the Inspector General of Police to step up surveillance and intelligence gathering in high-risk states to nip insecurity in the board.
In separate motions of urgent public importance, lawmakers condemned armed attacks on Ambe community in Kaduna State and parts of Uzwani local government area in Enugu State.
Concerned that the criminal elements have continued these serial kidnappings and killings despite presence of 3 police divisions in the local government area, which have obviously been overstretched.
The youth of the area summoned courage, apprehend one of the gunmen with his motorcycle and gun, who was later handed over to the soldiers on special duty at Gwantu.
Mr. Speaker, between 2015 to 2023, more than 19 trillion naira was spent on security and security-related matters in Nigeria. Whereas we have an alternative where we can bring in mercenaries.
We should look at all our resolution that has to do with insecurity, all the resolutions. Let us put them together and begin to ensure compliance with some of these resolutions.
The House also mandated its Committee on Navy to investigate the death of one Richard Onumegbu, a civil servant in Abia State who was allegedly tortured to death by men of the Nigerian Navy over a civil dispute.
Realizing that this is the second time my constituent is being killed unconditionally by the Nigerian Navy in the past 3 months.
Meanwhile, the House has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the nation's cement manufacturers to appear before it or face legislative sanctions. This follows the absence of the manufacturers at a joint investigative hearing on the arbitrary increase in the price of cement in Nigeria.
This forum is not a witch hunt. It shouldn't be used as a platform to target any particular stakeholder. The primary focus of this engagement should be the people, and all about the people.
Lawmakers promised to enact laws that will checkmate excessive hike in the price of commodities.
In the meantime, you and your reps has been speaking with Chairman of the House Committee on University Education, Abubakar Fulata, to get a sense of efforts to avert impending strike by the non-academic staff union of universities.
The non-academic staff union embarked on warning strike on the outstanding issue of their salaries and allowances that were withheld. Apparently, federal government intervened and also got paid on some of the allowances that were withheld also. But the same gesture has not been extended to the non-academic staff union members, and they thought that it was not fair. They embarked on a strike, and we sat down with them. They reasoned along with they saw our concerns, and then we convinced them to suspend their strike action to make way for the intervention of the committee. We promised them that by the time the House convened, because at that time we were on recess, the committee will move a motion before the House calling on the government, the President, to personally intervene, the Office of the Accountant General, the Minister of Finance, the Budget Office, to make sure that all outstanding payments against the unions are settled. And that's the essence of the motion I moved. And then the motion was carried, and by the grace of God, President Tinubu is a destined president. He will certainly listen and approve immediately the payment of all the outstanding allowances and areas that were withheld. The last time we spoke, I told you that we've sent in letters to various MDS and stakeholders to get their response. We've started getting the responses. By the time we've gotten enough response from all stakeholders, then we are going to convene a public hearing where stakeholders and members of the committee will sit down to receive oral testimonies on what actually transpired in respect of this matter. They have all been communicated to, and we are also, NYC has even submitted their own response. All the stakeholders have communicated to, and then we are awaiting their response. Some have responded, some are yet to respond, but we have a deadline. Very soon we are going to, as I said, convene a public hearing where all the dramatist personnel will be asked to make public presentation on their role in this matter. There are very difficult issues, especially with regards to funding, industrial harmony, but so far I've gotten the cooperation of all the parties. I've gotten the cooperation of the vice chancellors. I've gotten the cooperation of the unions. They know that they have understood that we as a committee, we have their interests at heart. We've gotten the largest budgetary allocation ever to the education sector. We've gotten 1.1 trillion, even though it is far short of the United Nations requirements of 20% budgetary allocation to education. However, we've gotten 7%. It has never been allocated. This 7% is so low, it's far below the UN requirement, but at least we are progressing. So the experience has been really, it's a mixed grill. But certainly we are very optimistic that there will be fundamental changes by the time the government is still, it's not yet 1 year By the 29th of this month, the government will be 1 year in office. So the first 1 year has been a learning process, trying to grapple with the difficult issues. But the government will be stabilizing now, and we are hopeful that a lot of the challenges will be overcome in the next 1 year or two. Strikes occur because there are issues on the ground which have not been addressed. Issue of remuneration. They are very serious issues. As I speak to you, no university professor earns 450,000. No university lecturer in Nigeria, no professor, earns more than 450,000. The salary is so paltry that it cannot sustain a substantial number of the professors and lecturers. And that you need salary that can take you home. You really need a take-home salary that can actually take you home. The salary is so small that it cannot solve the problem of basic existence. You need psychological stability for you to teach and do research, where you are grappling with issue of hunger every day. Not even to talk of issue of school fees and other requirements for your kids and members of your family. Issues of welfare of both the students and also the lecturers. So there are a lot of challenges which need to be addressed to facilitate learning. The learning environment as it is hostile to learning. So these are the issues that must be addressed.
The legislature has strict rules for the conduct of its plenary sessions. Now, one of such is that no item that is not listed on the order paper is discussed, but there are exceptions. And that is when you hear the phrase, suspension of the rule. What exactly does this mean, and in what context is it used? Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Wiver, tells us.
There are rules from the standing orders that guide our conduct. But once in a while, there will be a need to suspend the rules, and the standing orders give authority to that. For instance, something is not on the order paper that day. Usually we prepare a notice paper for the entire week. And from the notice paper, you bring out, the rules and business brings out the order paper for that day. Now, between the notice paper and the order paper coming out for that day, notice paper for the week, order paper for that day, something has happened overnight in the country, something of national importance, something that can affect lives and property, national interest, and again, which in the opinion of the presiding officer is of public importance and therefore urgent. The Order 8, Rule 5 in the new standing orders of the House of Representatives gives that permission to suspend the rule that says you must go by as stated by the order paper from Order 1 to Order 2. So you suspend that rule and say, I'm bringing a matter of urgent public importance. This is not on notice. It's not on the order paper. but I'm suspending that rule. 9th Assembly's standing orders give permission for up to 2 such matters to come up. In this 10th Assembly, we've opted to 3. And it's not only on such matters, that's just an example. There are other rules. For instance, we take first reading on a particular day and second reading on another day so that members can have time to go and study what has been presented for first reading. And then the debate takes place on another day. It's also different from the day for consideration and all of that. But sometimes when there's an emergency, this rule that says this time must elapse for people to go and study, it's not necessarily 30 days or 50 days. It could be one legislative day, 1 week, as the Rules and Business Committee will fix it, depending on the volume of work that is on hand. But when there's an emergency, we can suspend that rule and do first and second reading on the same day. So that's another example. But when doing this, a formal motion must be moved to suspend the rules to allow you to do this. So if you don't suspend the rules by that motion and you do it, what you have done is null and void.
Chairman of the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions, Chinedu Oga, is advocating improved funding for the Nigerian Correctional Service. This, the lawmaker says, will help in enhancing the agency's security and mitigating incessant jailbreaks across the country. The lawmaker was speaking during an on-the-spot assessment of the Suleja Custodial Center, which suffered the latest jailbreak, leading to the initial escape of 119 inmates.
Most of the items used here are outdated. They cannot stand the test of the day. And seeing it a little forced within the wind of the rain that lead to the breaking of the fence. And you know those inmates, some of them are in a capital offense and they needed to have a freedom. And that is why they find a way to escape. So it is the duty of us in National Assembly to do the needful. But we are asking the federal government to appropriate more money to the correction service, to build quarters for the staffs, to make sure the law of Nigeria, as amended in 1999 Constitution, that we have already shifted from exclusive to concurrent, that all the governors of the 36 states implement that law by building correction service and making sure they provide for the inmates.
And certainly something needs to be done to forestall further jailbreaks. And that has been You and Your Reps. We thank you very much for your time. I am Victor Azu. Join us again.